Hello there, Ben Robertson again, here for my second video about why hopefully I'm a wonderful candidate to be on the OGAE board for the next 2 years. This video is really fundamental to my campaign. This video explains about a lot of the ideas I have to make our board much more efficient and much more stronger. I want to take on a slightly different path. And I'm going to compare OGAE International to the model of a student union. It needs some explaining, so let me go through and do that, please. Firstly, let me talk about my previous experience. So, I was very lucky to be an elected student officer after my university time. I stood for and was elected for the position of Societies and Student Development Coordinator. In this role, I was in charge of all the activities and all the different societies in our student union. All of the big events, so when everybody arrives to see the different clubs, to our awards dinner at the end of the year. I was in charge of our media and our student newspapers, and also I was in charge of our democracy. These are all the kind of things which could be important as well for an international group. These were not the very political positions of a student union. I am not saying or suggesting that we should be facing politics head on. That is completely not the purpose of an OGAE, a Eurovision fan club. Politics should be left well away from our contest. We are there for the songs, the music, and the wonderful experiences that we get from that. The student union model I'm looking for is one about progressing our members and having a really good time doing so. Durham, my university, was a place which I can draw so many similarities to where I'm talking now. Durham is made of 16 different colleges, and each of them have their own president, many of which are also full-time paid elected officers. Yet there was still this central student union group. How strange. It's exactly the same system we have with OGAE International. Separate presidents in different countries, and then this central group that sit in the middle, seemingly with no direct purpose. And we had the same issues at Durham. How can you make a central student union important when your clubs are working really well? How can you transform the central student union into more than just a logo on your card? Are the same kind of problems we have now when people think of international and are only concerned about if or if not they can get tickets for the show or not. I believe it should be much more, and I believe my experience at Durham, running those activities, those events, being in charge of democracy, they showed so much potential for what we should be doing. And what really inspired me during my time as sabbatical, as somebody elected to work for the union for a year, I read a report from the National Union of Students. That's the body of all student unions in the United Kingdom. It's a great report. You can find it online. I've put a link in on the article I wrote for Insight about what we can learn about OGAE from my time in Finland. It's called A Guide to Quality Students' Unions. And it talks there about 3 principles that make a student union great. And it's not about political victories. And it's not about making yourself heard. That's not what makes an effective student union. There was 3 main points. It was talking that we should guide improvements in our members, making sure that they were quality and that the union itself was accessible. One of the big problems we have with the international group now, I believe, is that it's lost a purpose to improve its members, and it's certainly not accessible enough for other people outside to feel they can get involved. It needs to improve. It needs to be able, as a good, effective student union, to be able to develop and diversify its membership. It's great for us to have things that are fun, but we should be encouraging it to happen more often, providing support to help others share different ideas, to use the pools and networks that we have to greater effect, so we can get much more out of them. And thirdly, yes, to be stable financially and have control is important, but it's about long-term strategic vision and having goals which makes a student union stronger. And I think that final point was at a very important time for the International Fan Club, because we are seeing growth year on year. We are seeing new member clubs coming, and Eurovision interest is at an all-time high. With that growth, I think we change. We are now crossing the point where our chains of command and our chains of networks are a bit too big. It's not, and it shouldn't be the case, that we send information just to presidents and they send it out. The international group needs to be able to make its own voice heard that goes more directly and more quickly to its membership. It's not to say that I say, oh, let's go and email every member. Let's find out what they think. That's not the point. That's not effective representation, and that would be going over the heads of all the fantastic work that local clubs do. What I am saying is that we need to take a little more responsibility at the top. We need to make sure we make ourselves way more open. We need to make sure we can attract and share the information that we have. We need to make sure we have goals that we can actually work towards and improve, that last not just from 1 year to the next, but are going over 5 and 10 years. To talk about the kind of events we want to happen at Eurovision. To talk about the things we want to do between clubs throughout the other 11 months of the year. Those are the things we should be thinking about. Those are the things an international group can do. And I think learning from student union models, which, let's face it, are generally around the same size as us, is, I believe, the best way to go to make us successful in the future. Thank you very much.